The golden hour had settled over Sacramento. The sky shimmered in hues of amber and crimson as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that danced between buildings and across quiet streets. The buzz of the city was mellowing, traffic thinning, and a calming rhythm replaced the rush of the workday. Eric Porter drove steadily through the city in his silver sedan, the soft hum of the engine matching the low murmur of a jazz station playing in the background. He had just left a long meeting that ran later than expected and was looking forward to unwinding at home. The scent of leather and the cold whisper of air conditioning filled the car, a subtle comfort after the day's pressures. As he approached an intersection, the light shifted from green to yellow. With cautious precision, Eric eased his foot off the accelerator and rolled gently to a stop. Just as the light turned red, suddenly blue and red lights flashed in his rearview mirror. A piercing siren screamed through the air, cutting through the tranquility like a blade. Eric's brow furrowed in confusion. He checked his mirrors again. Surely this wasn't for him. But there was no mistaking it. The cruiser was tailing him. He pulled over calmly to the side of the road, unbuckled his seatbelt, and rolled down his window. His fingers lightly tapped the steering wheel as he waited. Moments later, the officer's door slammed shut, and the sound of heavy boots approached. From behind the glare of the flashing lights emerged Officer Bradley Larson, late 30s, solid building buzz cut. His mirrored sunglasses hid his eyes, but the way he adjusted his belt and walked with squared shoulders spoke volumes. This was a man used to being in charge. "License and registration," he barked, his voice clipped, authoritative, and devoid of warmth. Eric complied without hesitation. He opened his glove box, retrieved the necessary documents, and handed them over in one fluid, unbothered motion. He didn't say much, just nodded courteously. But even in his calmness, there was precision, control. Larson narrowed his eyes, studying the man behind the wheel as if trying to figure out what didn't sit right. "Do you know why I pulled you over?" he asked, leaning into the window, close enough for Eric to smell his aftershave, a sharp, bitter scent. Eric met his gaze. "Not exactly, officer." "You didn't come to a full stop at that light," Larson replied, though there was hesitation in his tone, as if he wasn't entirely sure himself. Eric blinked, then nodded slowly. "I see. I thought I had slowed down in time. But if you say otherwise, I understand." Larson lingered. He didn't return to his cruiser. He didn't offer a warning or write a citation. Instead, he remained by the window, watching Eric like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. "You're not from around here, are you?" he asked suddenly. "I moved here a few months ago," Eric responded. "My updated address is on the license." But Larson wasn't really listening. He was looking for something, anything, to turn this into more than a traffic stop. "Where are you headed in such a hurry?" "Just going home." Eric's answer was steady, but the shift in the air was undeniable. Larson wasn't treating this like a routine stop anymore. He was prodding, pressing, subtly escalating. Eric could feel it, the energy, the suspicion, the unspoken narrative unfolding in real time. But he remained still, unshaken. Larson straightened, folding the documents deliberately as though asserting ownership over the moment. His lips curled slightly as if he had already passed judgment. "Step out of the vehicle." Eric's grip on the wheel tightened just for a moment. He didn't react outwardly. Instead, he asked with a measured voice, "Is there a specific reason for that, officer?" "I said step out of the vehicle," Larson repeated, more forcefully this time. "You don't want to make this harder than it has to be." The threat, though unspoken, hung in the air like a storm cloud. Eric nodded slowly. "Very well." He opened the door and stepped out, standing a few inches taller than Larson. His build was athletic but not imposing. His tailored navy blue suit spoke of professionalism and discipline. His shoes shone in the fading sunlight. Everything about him screamed polish and control. Larson didn't seem to care. Hands where I can see them, he ordered. Eric complied, calm and steady. Is there something you're looking for specifically? Larson smirked. Just a routine check. We've had incidents in this area. Eric tilted his head. Incidents involving professionals in business suits driving mid-sized sedans? Larson flinched ever so slightly. The comment had landed. Watch your tone, he growled, one hand drifting closer to his belt, more for show than necessity. I'm simply asking a question, Eric replied, his voice unwavering. I believe in clarity, transparency. Even Larson paced in a slow circle, eyes scanning the car, his posture tense. He was growing frustrated. This man wasn't reacting the way others usually did. No fear, no fidgeting, just calm, unshakable composure. You're awfully confident, Larson said under his breath, like you think you know what's going to happen next. Confidence isn't the issue here, Eric replied. Respect is. Larson froze. Then, almost out of spite, he snapped, Turn around. Place your hands on the hood. I need to check for weapons. Eric raised an eyebrow. Weapons? He echoed, incredulous. Do I look like someone carrying weapons? Just do it, Larson snapped, the edge in his voice more fragile than fierce. Eric turned without protest, placed his palms against the hood. Larson began the pat-down, quick and aggressive, his hands lingering where they didn't need to. But Eric didn't flinch. He didn't twitch. He didn't even sigh. You're clean, Larson finally muttered, almost resentfully. Eric turned back, his expression even. Of course I am. I'm not done, Larson barked. Eric folded his arms. You seem eager to prove something, officer. You think you're smarter than me? Larson hissed, stepping in closer. Think you can talk your way out of this? I think, Eric said quietly, that fairness should go both ways. And right now, I'm not seeing much of it. Larson's face twisted. People like you always... He caught himself. Too late. People like me? Eric asked. Not angry, just firm. Sharpened steel behind velvet. Larson's face paled. You know what I meant, he muttered. I do, Eric said softly. And that's the problem. Larson shifted his stance, suddenly unsure. The control he thought he had was slipping through his fingers. Then Eric took a step back. The shift was subtle but commanding. His tone turned cooler, less conversational, more official. Officer, he said, I think it's time you knew who I am. I don't care who you are, Larson snapped, though his voice cracked. Eric reached into his inner pocket, slowly, clearly. I'm reaching for my badge, he said calmly, noting the flicker of panic in Larson's eyes as his hand twitched near his holster. No need for drama. I just want you to see it. He pulled out a leather wallet and flipped it open. The badge gleamed in the setting sun. Eric Porter, he said. Head of Internal Affairs, Sacramento Division. Larson staggered a step back as if punched. His mouth parted, but no words emerged. He looked at the badge, then at Eric, then back again, searching for some sign of a joke, but none came. I oversee officer conduct, Eric continued, his voice calm but cutting. It's my job to make sure this badge, he tapped Larson's chest lightly, means something. Larson's mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing. Eric's tone turned cooler still. Do you know what's most troubling about this, Officer Larson? He asked. Larson didn't respond. He looked like a man who had just realized he was standing on a trap door. It's not the profiling, Eric said. It's not even the baseless escalation. It's that you never once stopped to consider who you were talking to. You assumed I was ignorant, powerless, easy to intimidate. Larson's shoulders sagged slightly, the armor of authority crumbling. Eric leaned in just enough. You saw what you wanted to see, and that's dangerous, not just for me, but for every person you pull over. He took a breath and let the weight of his words settle. Now, he said, stepping back, You're going to return my license. You're going to walk back to your cruiser. And then you're going to think, really think, about how this could have gone if I wasn't who I am." Larson fumbled with the documents and handed them back. Eric paused. "And one more thing." Larson looked up. "You'll be hearing from me again," Eric said, his voice cold now. "Not as a man you stopped on the side of the road, but as the man who will decide whether you keep that badge." Larson's face drained of all color. Without another word, Eric got back into his car and drove away, leaving behind a stunned officer and a moment that would define both of their careers.